Now with George Stephanopoulos from the ABC News studios in New York City. Now, I want to get your take on Tom Brokaw, former NBC News anchor, saying this about supporting gun control.
Well, it reminds me a lot of what happened in the South in the 1960s during the Civil Rights Movement. Good people stayed in their houses and didn't speak up when there was carnage in the streets and the total violation of the fundamental rights of African Americans as they marched in Selma, and they let Bull Connor and the redneck elements of the South and the Klan take over their culture, in effect, and become the face of it. And now a lot of people who I know who grew up during that time have deep regrets about not speaking out.
All right, so is it valid to compare gun control with civil rights?
It's not the analogy I would use, but I think what he was talking about there is the kind of passion that people feel right now, and the need that a lot of people feel to speak out. I agree with that. We can differ about exactly how to get a handle on this gun violence in the country right now, and I don't think it's as simple as a either or. Making sure people have the quality
all over
the
the place. But is it when you say okay? It's a play for passion to speak out. Is that on both sides, in your opinion? Speak out against gun control or for the Second Amendment rights? I mean, are you supporting both sides?
I'm all for that kind of engagement.
Where do you
Absolutely.
come down on it?
Listen, I've been a long-time supporter of gun control measures that that I think are in accord with the Second Amendment. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with having background checks for gun purposes.
And I think most gun owners don't mind that.
I personally don't see. I mean, do believe that it could help reduce some violence to have a limit on the number of bullets that can be in a gun magazine. I think that's just common sense.
Isn't that a state's issue? Look, New York State passes strict gun control law.
Well, that's true, except the guns are going to cross state lines.
No, but all the feds have to do is draconian penalties on anybody that drags them.
I've heard you talk about that. Here's my question back to that, Bill. How are you going to? You're not going to set up, border searches for every state.
No, you don't have the border searches, but you have a Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms that's responsible for this, just like you have a DEA and an FBI.
But then, so how would it work if somebody buys an
you can't take an assault rifle or a certain type of weapon across state lines ever. And if we find you doing that or you traffic in it, you get a mandatory federal sentence.
How are you going to
when you bust them? When you bust them. When there's a criminal that uses a gun, you trace it back to where it came from, and then they go in and you slap out. All gun crimes should be federalized. You know that. Take it out of the state.
I'm all for federalizing gun crimes. I am all for cracking down on enforcement of gun trafficking.
Look,
I think that is essential.
Just let me go to your question. How are you going to enforce it? You're not going to be able to enforce any ban on AR, right? There's 300 million guns in this country.
And that's why I think it's a little bit different from the civil rights issues.
Yeah, you can't enforce it.
I worked for President Clinton when he passed the assault weapons ban. I wish it would have been more effective, but it was very true that there were so many exceptions to it.
Look, you can't do that. What you can do
about universal buybacks.
If this country was serious about really cutting down on gun crime, the type of stuff that's going on in Chicago every day, 16 more deaths this weekend there, is to federalize and mandatory. You got a gun on you, you go to 10 years in a federal pen. But let me tell you, I don't think Brokaw would support that. See, I think this is a battle between the elites, Brokaw, and the folks. And the folks know that all these bans don't work. Chicago has a ban on handguns, and it's Beirut.
Here's the counter to that, Bill, though. And I'm not saying this could ever get done in the United States, but I think it's useful to debate it. You look at the experience of Australia back in the 1990s.
Different country, you don't have all the guns.
Right.
You don't have the guns.
And you can't buy up $300 million guns. That's probably the big. But that
and the folks
effective.
Don't want to give the guns up because they want to be protected. This is a big country, and it's a dangerous country.
But do you need 30 bullets in a clip to protect yourself?
No, you don't. You don't. And if New York wants to ban that, I'm for it. But not Texas. They do what they want. Different state, different circumstance. Last word.
I just think it's too easy to move those guns across state lines.
All right, George. Thanks very much. As always, great talking to you.